coconut. Go back. So that what has been alleged that this is a symbol of the Islamic crescent is probably not true. That the Islamic crescent is not shown this way. It's often on a diagonal like this. And these are the mango leaves and the coconut, the watering pots are all symbols of the Taj. Here's the terrace that faces out to the Jumla, with the stairways going down to rooms below, some 21 rooms below. Here's the terrace, an interesting design. And here, looking out from the beach, you see here the side of the terrace. And these are what used to be windows of the 21 rooms, which have been bricked up. And here's a doorway leading from the beach that go up to these rooms. Here's a plan showing the rooms, the river, the corridor, and the space here on this side of the corridor, which is under the Taj. This room may have idols or remnants of the original building that were bricked up and placed here. One has to open up this wall to find out. And here is the doorway that was bricked up. And my guide at that time, and what I was able to obtain from the guide was a piece of wood from the old door of this bricked up doorway. That piece of wood, when carbon dated, turned out to be 250 years younger than the Taj date of 1628. No one has ever tried to date the Taj by carbon 14 before, except myself, that I'm aware of, and nobody has tried to verify by doing it again or taking samples of wood or brick from some other part of the building. Brick would give us an opportunity to date it by thermoluminescence. And here is the carbon 14 test that was done in New York by a Dr. Williams, giving a entirely different date for the Taj than has been assumed. But one must be aware that one carbon date is not enough for certitude, but it is enough to question, and the scholarly world should have picked up on it long before this to have duplicated the experiment. And here's the stairs behind that door that's going up to the rooms. In these rooms, here is P. N. Oak himself and his colleagues, my daughter, and here are the bricked up windows. These rooms must have been used for a residential purpose. People arriving by boat on the Jumna could have stayed here and had fresh breezes coming out from the river and lived in these 20 or so rooms. They're beautiful ceiling, vaulted, net vaulted ceilings, which were painted and decorated, some of it which still remains. Here's the type of decoration that you can still see in that ceiling. And here's the corridor alongside the rooms. And here's the bricked up entry to the main room on the side of the corridor facing away from the 20 rooms. One has to enter this, knock this out, and see what's there. So far, the Archaeological Survey of India refuses to do that. And here's the shoulder of the arch, beautiful design, with the inset stonework. And on the corner of the surround, in the northwest corner, you see some typical Hindu type of construction. These brackets, which are used by the Hindus. Here are lotuses in the corners, and the grill to provide ventilation. Here's the lotus flower itself. And here's a beautiful corner detail. Up on the roof, there are 5 domes, the main dome and 4 smaller ones. And these domes are capped by the lotus upside down. Over here, on the side, you notice these are the cobras of Shiva. And here are the petals around the base of the drum of the main dome. And looking up past the cobras, there is the pinnacle. We also have, in the area of the garden, we have what they call a drum house to make music. But there are 2 of them, one on each east and west. Now the odd part about a drum house is that in a Muslim tomb or cemetery, there is no music allowed. You would not have a drum house. But drum houses and music are very much in order in a Hindu palace. Notice here in these arches, you have the scalloped arch. The scalloped arch, I believe, derives from the symbolism of the hood of the cobra. And here's a view of the mosque again, with, as I said before, with the 3 domes. This type of construction with the knife-like edge, the cha-cha type of construction, is typical also of the Hindus. Here's the interior of the atrium and the ceiling above. In the ceiling above, you have this very center, a chain, which seems to go nowhere. According to Oak, which makes some sense, it held a watering can, which was used to anoint the statue of Shiva, not the statue, but the lingam of Shiva down below. Around it are the serpents, around here, and then beyond that, there are symbols of the lotus. Back in 1991, I wrote a letter to the editor of the New York Times where I tried to separate the Taj Mahal from legend, and I give credit to P.N. Oak, a man who was never cited, never mentioned. His books are not on the shelves of the library. He's an unperson. He died fairly recently, and I think he deserves a lot more credit than that. So this is my tour. I hope it's illuminating to you. I've given you some reasons to believe otherwise than what you've been told about the Taj. What it really needs is an investigation of a more thorough nature, especially of scientific dating, and for scholars to take seriously the possibility that what they have been seeing is not part of the history of Indian architecture. If the Taj is indeed not originally Muslim, then there are many other buildings in India and perhaps around the world that have to be called into question. And one does have to look then into the Red Fort in Delhi, which is supposed to be Shah Jahan's building. And there are other buildings that are important in India that are said to be Muslim, Humayun's tomb, the Qutb Minar, and very important Fatehpur Sikri. Beyond India, the question of the origin of Muslim buildings has to be explored anew, and one has to look at with a fresh eye along these lines that I've been discussing. So I want to thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to get your comments when this appears on my website.